I am Khadijah, and I am here today with Diamond Brown, and she is living up to her name, Diamond. She is really shining bright. She is the second vice president for the YPD conference and the self-denial week. And we are here actually to talk about self-denial, what's going on, what she's gained from self-denial, what she's gained from being second vice president. How does she get to her seat? But within due fashion, like we always do, I want Diamond to take a little time to tell you about herself.
Hi, my name is Diamond Brown. I am the second vice president of the 5th District Conference of YPD, and I am 19 years old, and I graduated high school actually last year during the whole pandemic situation, so it was kind of difficult for that. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, a little nervous, but I'm excited to talk about what we've been doing.
And so for those of you who really want to know the deeper connection, we are AME, Episcopal, African Methodist Episcopal. My tongue got a little tied there. And the 5th District in particular, this part of Midwest, you want to tell us what states are connected to this conference?
I don't know all of them from like the top of it.
I believe it's Omaha, right?
Yeah, I believe St. Louis is in there.
So we're off to a good start. Omaha, Kansas, Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think there's another state in there. But at any rate, you know, it's a combination of all of the AME churches, and the YPD department brings all those youth together in a conference, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what has been going on this week. I think it started May 7th and will end the 14th, right? Self-denial week.
Yes. So this week has been our self-denial week. We do this every year. This year is our theme for listening up, since we've been going through like the toughest pandemic that, you know, for us new generation, our first time going through the pandemic, so it's a little different for us to have our program. Yeah. So like it's like very difficult to do our program, but you know, our young folks have been finding a way to get everyone together and still come on for our programs, even though it's not in a church building or anything. We're still coming together to lift God's name up. I like this self-denial theme this year. Is listen up. It's actually sitting down and, you know, listening to God's words and listening to what God, you know, is speaking to you, what he's saying to you, even if it's in a song or you hear from someone else, or, you know, just throughout your everyday life. Every day has been a different topic for the week. Today is actually our last day, so we're hoping that we get more people today to come see our very last day for our self-denial. It's been very incredible. All of our YPDers have been great. Right now, it's the way we've been doing it is we'll come on 5 p.m. every day. Our young folks actually have been on like 5 p.m. on the dot. We've been having to have our other churchgoers, like, you know, our young folks are ready. You're ready to get our word out, ready to, you know, share what we have with you guys. And for our self-denial, we start off with, you know, good morning, good afternoon, and we start off with what our topic is for that day, and we say our scripture lesson, our devotion, our song, our meditation of the song. Each day have a different song of meditation, and it's all, you know, still going back to our main theme for self-denial. And it's, you know, having people listen up and, you know, hear God's words in almost everything. It's not just, you know, songs in church and, you know, hearing it from the pastor or hearing it from someone, you know, you hear it every
from
day.
your peers, and
Yes.
y'all are well connected.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people dog out the church. They say, you know, the church is blasphemy. It just takes money. The preachers are pimping you out. As a young person who is dedicated to God and the ministry of church, how does that make you feel when you hear these things going around? Because that's one of the biggest things that is happening during the pandemic, is people have an opinion about religion.
Yeah, and I feel like yeah, that's been even going on, even before the pandemic. I feel like since the pandemic has, came upon us, it has, really brought people's minds to like the background of church, and what do pastors really do with everything that goes on in the church. And it kind of like hurts a little bit, because it's like, going to church almost, I've been going to church since I was a baby. I grew up in a church, so I don't believe church in that type of way. I know all churches are different, but in my eyes, I see it as, God has people that's down here like serving for him, spreading out his words, getting out his words to people to believe, and, just be active. So it's like, it's kind of like, you expect people to have like mindsets that way,
Mhm.
because we all have questions about what's going on. Even me as a young person, I had questions just on God itself, like himself. But in situations, you gotta sit back, like in this something, all you gotta sit back and just listen and realize, like, I don't need to worry anymore. I don't need to keep having these bad thoughts, or having, backtracking on my faith, because God is really here. He's among us. We can't see it, but his presence is here. Like, he's
Sounds like
still.
you've had these concepts of listening to God
Yes.
before this self-denial has come along. What would you say to people um, who maybe don't know about self-denial and you would like them to participate in this? By the way, the link for this will be in the captions when we upload this. So look out for it. Please share it. The youth are doing powerful things out here in the community, and I think it's important that we all show some kind of participation, and the least you could do is share the video. So yeah, Diamond.
Yeah. Um, Self-denial, we take this really seriously. It's our way of, still getting God's words out there, even if it's through programs. We actually do mission work for self-denial. We have fed the homeless. We gave care packages to the homeless. This is all God's work. Self-denial is revolving around God's work and God's word. And, you know, being in the pandemic, we had actually got a booklet for self-denial, which, kind of gave us more insight for young people to get more insight of what self-denial really means.
Kind of like a roadmap to
Yeah.
activism. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like with that booklet and everything, it actually has helped our young people, dig deep into self-denial this year. And, I'm very glad and wonderful to see everybody on the program and speak their mind and speak how they feel about, self-denial. And, I feel like everyone should participate in it. It's not just a young folks thing, our adults can participate in it also. Is actually very inspirational, kind of keeps your mind focused on, what we really need to, not even really need to super be focused on, but it's like something that we should, grasp and take in and be like, something that you will sit there and really be like, okay, so this is something that's very inspirational and very motivated and breathtaking and moving. And so you sit there and you listen to, all the young folks and what they have to say about, the themes with the self-denial, and you're actually taking in the information that, the young folks are giving to everyone else. So it's very inspirational. Self-denial has been out of this world for me, honestly, because
That was going to be my next question to you because, I know there's a democratic process with the AME Church, and that denotes your title,
yeah,
second vice president. I know it takes a lot of strength to put yourself out there and campaign to be vice president. And
yeah.
I imagine that over the years, you being a part of self-denial has helped that out. Let us know about that process. How the
Um,
church actually helps you in your campaigning process, and that enriches you.
Actually, when I first signed up to be second vice president, I was so nervous. But if anybody who knows me, I'm like the quiet one, I just help out. But helping out had made me be more moved to be in a higher position than when I was before. And also, if anyone who knows my brother Joseph Brown, he was the third vice president, second vice president, all the way up to president himself, and now running for like the big district. So it was like, he was my inspiration becoming a second vice president. Also, we had our YPD director for my church work, Chapel King Grant, Miss Cheryl. She sadly passed away, but she was my hugest inspiration on, becoming more active into, YPD officers and, being more connected with my young folks. So it was really my church folks and my church family who encouraged me to be in a higher position. But being second advice, I would say it was like really easy going at first, but then when the pandemic hit, it was like everything changed, and we had to figure out different ways to cope. But then Mr. Paul and Ms. Gail has been great on guiding us throughout our way on how to do things
So,
and how to go about
so
ways.
you named quite a few people, Miss Cheryl. Who was she in the YPD department at the time?
Everyone knows Miss Cheryl Harris has been dear to my heart since I was a kid. She's been dear to everyone in the YPD who've known her. She helps with everything. She was like the best YPD director I've ever had. And she was struggling with cancer, but even during her during her process, she was still, helping our YPDers and still going out of towns, going through trips, helping us, being there for us. She was like my second grandmother, so she was
You can
dear to
tell
my
you're just
heart.
lighting up every time
Yeah, she was dear to my heart.
yeah.
She took me and
So
my brother everywhere.
tell us what Mr. Paul does.
Mr. Paul is our YPD director. They split it against Mr. Paul and Ms. Gail. Mr. He helps us officers during all of this, and he's helping us, guiding us through our positions and what we need to do. Keeping us head first, maintaining with all of our responsibilities as these officers. So Mr. Paul actually, Mr. Paul, Miss Gail has been there throughout this whole pandemic. Honestly, if it wasn't for them, us officers could have been lost throughout this whole thing.
And yeah, so you mentioned Miss Gail. So go ahead and give us a little background on Miss
Oh
Gail.
yeah, Miss Gal, both of them together are like Batman and Robin, honestly. Miss Gal, she helped do the same thing Mr. Paul does. She helps us, encourage us. Even before we get on our program, she helps us get our jitters out, going throughout the steps, like what we need to do. And she's like giving us encouragement, like, you got this, you can do this. Both of them are amazing together. They help us all the time. And then, without them, I probably still would be tongue tied doing all of this stuff. So,
I noticed a lot of what you said, and I know these people personally, and I know they're from the older generation, and I think what I love uh, about the AME Church is that the things that I notice in our community, like the generational gap, where there's a gap between the old and young, the AME Church does a good job of bridging that gap and giving the young people the wisdom that they need to stand strong. It's a very powerful thing, and I hope that all of our old people don't die off without passing that wisdom on, and we continue that legacy of
yes.
having our generations consistently being together and in that village mentality. I love it. And it's almost every AME church I go to, I have that same warm feeling. There's little nuances and little gossip in any church or anything, but for
Yes.
the overall projection, when you go to Allen Chapel or Cane Grant or Ward Chapel, you feel the same camaraderie of unity. How does that make you feel as a youth? Because I think that's a gem and a gift that a lot of youth don't have. And I want you to talk about the contrast in comparison when you think about the gift God gave you versus what some people don't have.
Yeah, like you said, the whole AME has been, when you go in there, it gives you like that warm feeling. They open you up in open arms, and you know, um, being there since I was a kid, and growing up with these older adults, you have a different connection with them than just churchgoers or people going to your church. You start looking at them as a whole family, as nothing else but your family. Like, so it's like a super warm feeling of being in like AME and having everybody be so connected, and it won't have like that weird kind of that gap between the ages, and not knowing how to talk to an adult or adult not knowing how to talk to like that child. So it's been very easygoing when it's come to talking to like our YPDs, our YPD directors. And I really do helps when it comes to like young folks that's trying to progress still in YPD and still trying to keep going and keep going to eventually become in their shoes. So then it becomes like you get that how they were as a director. You get that same, you inherit that same thing when eventually you do. So I feel like that whole gap and the whole awkwardness in between, how it's not there, it kind of helps with you know, everything with the process and the programs and, the meetings and everything when we go out of town and showcase our stuff. So yeah. And then for God's gift, honestly, it's like you kind of see the difference when you around somebody who hasn't gone to church, but then when you speak and they hear you and they start actually listening to the words you say, and they see how spiritual you are, and it kind of invites them to like, okay, like maybe I should go to church and maybe I should try this out because she's speaking like that, she has a strong connection with God and she really truly believes him and everything that he does. Like maybe I should try this out. So I feel like God's gift for young people is spreading his words to other young people and people who hasn't been introduced to God yet. So that gift itself is amazing.
Let me ask you a question about more or less where you're going. Like, you know, when I look at people and young people in the YPD department, I I see greatness and I see the growth coming out of them. And you've grown so much. What what are your next stepping stones? Where are you going from here? First, tell us how old you are and what level of education you are in, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm 19. I graduated last year. I took a leap year from college, but then I had an accident that caused me to actually stay home, and actually caused me to, be more open to God. And, for, I guess just being young itself, it's, you kind of still think about where you're going to go in the future with all of this. Because at this time we still in a pandemic, so it's kind of like a blind spot, but you still see like, okay, so if this pandemic is over, um should I continue or should I still go? I still want to continue and go on with YPD because this is home, this is family to me. So I wouldn't rather be anywhere else but doing YPD, being at church, being active. So I would hopefully, um God bless us with this pandemic being over, we can get back to church. And honestly, I still see myself, progressing in officers, still going up, in the church home. So yeah, it's still in progress in my mind. But yeah, I still want to keep doing this. This is amazing. It's fun. It teaches a lot too.
It really does. I come from a background where I haven't been a Christian my whole life. And I took the process of becoming a Christian through Grant Chapel AME Church. And even before then, just watching some of the processes, like the political exercises of teaching young people how to vote, having mock voting and ballots and things of that nature, and mock debates, and watching powerful movies with the youth. I mean, there's all kind of activities that you guys have done. I mean, thinking about SOS,
Yeah.
Daughters of Destiny, all of those different programs my children have went through and have enriched them. It just makes you more of a person that has a backbone, willing to step up for what's right, and
Yes.
also have the tools and be equipped to do all of that. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
is such a powerful ministry, not just for the individuals that are involved, but when you butterfly and you're released to the world, most of you young people become people that are really, really powerful, contributing citizens in the world. And so that's why, one of the first things in my mind was, who do I interview for, self-denial? Who can bring through the confidence of what really self-denial projects? And you absolutely are a star in this
Thank you.
arena. So I know that God has some wonderful things planned for you. And I just absolutely look forward to all that he has in store for you. Are there any final words that you want to give the young people, whether they're in the church or outside the church, that you think they need to hear that will help uplift them during tough times? I think one of the biggest things is like with the kids graduating and not having all the opportunities that people had before them. So just take a
Yeah.
moment to encourage people.
I would say from my milestone, do not block out God's voice whatsoever. Like, you probably feel like you got it, and you can do this by yourself, but it doesn't hurt to open up for some help. Open up to something spiritual. Having just knowing God is real and God is here 24/7 is just breathtaking and strengthening, like, itself. Never block out any type of blessings, never block out any on none of your opportunities as God is like putting in front of your face. Don't block it out, because you would never regret that path, stepping in the path God is making for you. It's You'll never understand like where you at, or you'll never understand why things are happening, but you just gotta always understand that God has a plan, and that if you succeed in that plan and if you follow through with God's words and trust him, it will all work out in the end, and you will sit there and you will realize that yes, God has been there with me 24/7 every day, been walking with me, been with me by my side. It's just never block out his blessings, never block out his words, because he will be there for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Those are powerful words. You may not see yourself as someone in the ministry, but you definitely are. You're definitely giving us life, the living water, and I greatly appreciate that. So we're going to leave you guys with this powerful message, wishing that you share it, and that you tell the next person about self-denial. You join them on this last day. It starts at 5 o'clock. The information will be listed below. Again, we leave you with love, peace, and hair grease.
This program is brought to you by